Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the Independent Podcast. My name is Fernando Garcia, and I'm here with Justin Lee, who is a congressional candidate for the 57th District for United States Congress. Justin, thank you for being a guest on my podcast here. I always start off by asking, tell me a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and how you got to where you are right now.
Oh man, loaded question. Just kidding. For me, man, a little bit about me. So I'm a father of three. I have three boys, and coincidentally enough, all three boys are born on the 7th of the month that they were born in. So I have 777
Oh wow!
for my kids.
Yeah.
And I'm a 20-year Navy veteran. So I spent 20 years in the Navy, retired from that, opened a business, and then opened a few more businesses, and just decided after a while. I've been trying to push for some changes within the system.
Sure.
And there was no way to actually make those changes because my voice wasn't heard. So it all finally came to a head when it came to my kids' safety. And, child welfare services and the police departments did absolutely nothing. So it was time for me to stand up for what I believe in and to make a change.
Wow, awesome. And tell me a little bit about your district. Who's the incumbent? Is there incumbent, and how many other people are running right now?
Right now, the incumbent is Juan Vargas,
Okay.
and there is one other person running as independent, and I am the only Republican running.
Okay, awesome. And what are some of the main issues for you that really concern you and got you wanting to run?
Well, like I said, my children. So the way the system is set up now, if there is a child in danger, unless it's both parents, CWS does not remove the child from the situation. They leave the child in the situation and leave it up to a custody battle. And as you know, it's really hard for fathers to get custody of children, regardless of how bad the situation is in the other home. So it push came to shove. The party asked me about 6 months ago if I was willing to run for an office. At the time, I was like, no, I own these businesses and I'm doing this and that. I just don't have time for it.
Sure.
When this happened, and talking to the supervisors and the sergeants and lieutenants and everything at the police station, and along with the supervisors at CWS, I was basically told, yeah, sorry, man, there's nothing really we can do. The kids aren't being physically beaten, just, neglected and, miscare with their medications, which is a huge deal. I'm not going to get into it on the podcast.
Sure.
But, that's not, it's hard to prove. And I was like, well, there's admittance, we have proof, we have everything we need. And like, well, it's not in our scope to tear apart families. And I'm like, you're not tearing apart a family, you're keeping the children safe. So I know that there's a lot of people out there that have gone through, emotional, mental, and, medical abuse through, bad parenting. And we have not done enough to prevent that or, make a change in that. So my biggest thing right now, my biggest platform is, child safety, child wellness.
Sure. Awesome. Yeah. I'm kind of somewhat in a similar boat, not in a negative way, but I do understand that the courts definitely don't favor fathers. And it's an uphill battle for us. And so I'm definitely with you on that one. And what made you decide to run? Have you always been a Republican? Was there something that made you why choose to be a Republican?
Well, seeing where our state, California and our country has gone under, Democratic rule. As a child, I was raised to be a Democrat, right?
Okay.
Democrat. And, my uncle and aunt were Republicans, and I was, just kind of like, whatever, didn't care. It didn't matter to me. I was a kid. But as I got older, I started to pay more attention. And once I, joined the military and saw where that went, I started leaning more to the Republican side. And then, especially when I became, a business owner, seeing what the Democrats were doing with my money, being a business owner, it's not just about me making money, right? of course, that's the main goal, is to be
Mhm.
financially free, financially stable, and everything. But I employ other people.
Right.
And when I'm paying all these taxes to employ people, and then they're paying taxes on the money that I've already paid them that was already taxed, and in California, we're taxed an extremely high amount. So our business, you could make, let's say, $500,000 in your business, but only keep like 150,000 of it
Mhm.
because of the taxes and payrolls and costs. So you're busting your butt day in and day out, and I just don't think it makes any sense just because the business makes money that we have to pay all these taxes, and watch our tax money just disappear.
Right. Yeah.
So kind of like our gas tax. Like
Yeah.
that's another one that I'm standing pretty firm on too. We have the highest gas tax in the nation, and they misappropriated those funds. Like
Yeah.
they spent those funds not on the roads, not on things that they were supposed to go to, but they spent them on other issues.
Yeah. Yeah. I think more people would have an understanding if we had the best roads in the world, then
Yeah.
maybe there would be an understanding. But yeah, I agree with that. One thing I've noticed too is a lot of, I'm a small business owner myself, so I understand the challenges that it takes to, just take an idea and actually make it happen,
Mhm.
and then to take those leaps of hiring somebody, and so many things you invest in actually don't even work many times, but that's how you learn. And what I find is there's a lot of people in office that have never actually started a business. I mean, they graduated from college, became a staffer, kind of worked their way up that way, and they've never actually, kind of almost never actually done anything too much. And so they lack that real world experience that somebody like you has, you know?
Yeah, it's just crazy, man. Fighting 20 years for our country,
Yeah.
you know, sacrificing that time away from my kids and family, and then coming home to a country that I don't even recognize anymore.
Yeah.
And when I say recognize, I'm not talking about, the people. I'm talking about what it stands for.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I'm of mixed ethnicities, right? My father
Mm-hmm.
was an immigrant. I'm first generation American.
Yeah.
Um, and seeing what's happening right now in our country is just sad and disappointing. Like, we're the
Yeah.
laughing stock of the United Nations right now, and we're giving, I don't even know how many hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine to fight a war that doesn't even really affect us.
Right. Right.
And all that taxpayer money could have gone to things that could actually benefit the citizens that are living here now.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I want to change.
Yeah. How was your experience in the military? I mean, you did 20 years. How did that mold you, especially coming in? Did you come in right out of high school? How did that look like?
Pretty much a little bit less than a year out of high school.
Okay.
I mean, growing up, I was a troubled teen.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of my friends were, ending up in jail or worse. And for me, it was a way out. It was, how do I find a better life for myself?
Sure.
So I signed up, joined, came home, told my mom. She cried. She was so mad at me. Um, because I had signed up under the SEAL Challenge program, which
Oh
is,
wow.
yeah, for you go into boot camp, you graduate boot camp, go to your A school, which is your basic school of, skills, and then
Yeah.
you go directly on to BUDS, which is, Navy SEAL training.
Yeah.
I never made it that far. I got hurt. So I was never, a SEAL.
Yeah.
Uh, but she was very, very upset with me. And then from there, I went to a ship, did that thing, and then went to shore duty. And then, um, I got into the green side or brown side of the Navy, and started working with special warfare from there. I did a 13-month, IA, which is an individual augmentee, and worked with JSOC and SOCOM out of Africa, hunting pirates
Oh,
and terrorists in the Middle East and Africa.
yeah.
And I mean, it showed me a completely different side of the Navy,
Yeah.
and I loved it.
Yeah.
Um, and it was just, the Navy gave me structure, it gave me leadership, it gave me skills that I needed to run a successful business, to recognize inefficiencies where they are and how to remedy them quickly. And I think I can use those skills to help the government and what we're going through right now. Because right now, you look at who they're putting in office.
Yeah.
Um, People that have never led anyone are now in charge of complete departments or bureaus or, directorates inside government, and I forgot who it was. I can't remember her name, but they put her in charge of the Department of Education, and that never been any kind of educator.
Right.
I'm a firm believer that the head of HUD should be someone from real estate.
Right.
The head of agriculture should be a farmer.
Right.
The head of education should be somebody who did some teaching.
Right.
Because the way they're doing things now is if you have power or influence, they're giving you a job and a position to mold our youth and to take control of this country without any experience in that field. It just doesn't make sense. You're not going to get a job in the private sector as, let's say a director of an agriculture company coming from being a welder. It's not going to,
right.
You're not going to be a mechanic, working on, let's say race cars and never have touched a car in your life. But in government, that's what's happening. They're putting people with zero skills into positions that, need to have skills and experience to be successful. And that's why I think our country is failing.
Yeah. And what in terms of, being in Congress, you're going to have a say in terms of like foreign affairs. What are your thoughts in terms of how we're dealing with things? Ukraine, but just in general, Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, the world in general with our foreign affairs. What is your take on it?
I think our foreign affairs is a wet paper bag. Okay. We don't have a firm stance, it seems, on pretty much anything that matters to the United States. Like one of the things that we need to do is we need to put our interests first before we help somebody else. Mm-hmm. I was always taught as, a child, you can't fix someone else unless you fix yourself first.
Right.
We have to fix ourselves as a country before we can go out there and push our policies and our agenda out there on other people, because we're not doing them, any good. We're doing them a complete disservice by helping them down a path to failure. It just doesn't make any sense. We are not being a good role model right now. And, getting involved in wars that, don't involve us. Like, why do we need another Cold War? For what? Right. It's going to lead to a real war, and I understand, with Russia not wanting Ukraine to join NATO. Okay. That's their issue. It's not our issue. NATO's fine right now. Adding Ukraine is going to do what for us? Yeah. The issue with Taiwan and China. I mean, we're literally stuck right now. We're fighting a proxy war in Ukraine. We're sending a ton of aid to Israel, which I have no problem with. I believe Israel should get the aid. I think what happened over there was horrendous. But we're teetering on a war with China as well. So it's just, are we going to be spread too thin? Are we going to be in 3 places at once and then finally lose a major war? I don't want that to happen. I think there's a way we can back out of this and just aid who we actually need to aid instead of sending billions and billions of taxpayer dollars to a war that doesn't matter to the United States.
Sure. Yeah. And what are some of the things in terms of like, like immigration's a big issue right now, especially here in San Diego. We're being a border city, we kind of see it firsthand. What are your thoughts on immigration right now? How do we fix it? How do we make it better? What is your stance on that?
So for everybody watching, listen to my whole thought process before you jump to conclusions with what comes out of my mouth. All right. My father's an immigrant. My mother's father was an immigrant. They did it the right way. I believe everyone should do it the right way. And I think anyone who comes here illegally should be sent back to where they came from. Now, I know a lot of people talk about asylum. Well, there's a proper way to file for asylum, and it's not being done right now. But what I do think we need to do is I do think we need to reform immigration laws, and I think we need to reform the way we do things for migrant workers. A lot of these people that are coming here from south of the border are coming here for work, and they're not doing the jobs that everyone else is trying to do. They're not taking the jobs at executive level in corporate America. They're not doing that. What they're doing is they're working on farms. And I've met a lot of them, and I know right now. And what I think we need to do is we need to come up with a program, a sponsorship program that the farms have to hire migrant workers to give them a temporary visa to come to the United States, work and get paid. And I think we can do this. And I think one of the things that we can do is basically we 1099 them. So there's no income tax paid, right? Or 1099, or maybe that's not the right term, because 1099, the worker does have to pay tax. It'd have to be a new form with the IRS. But here's how I think we should do this. We don't charge the migrant workers an income tax. The farmers are responsible for housing and feeding, and have inspections on the health and everything, the benefits that they're giving to the workers. Sure. And I think we tax money being wired out of the country. So instead of taxing the migrant worker who's working here, we can tax the money that's leaving the country going somewhere else. And then that way the country still gets their income taxes in a type of way. And when a new season of crop comes up, that migrant worker can apply with that farmer, to be brought back on for the next season, so they don't have to go back and start the process over again. And that farm can be sent off to, immigration and whatnot. There's got to be a way that we can do that. And as far as people want to become citizens, there is a limit to how much our country can hold financially, right? I mean, we have a ton of open land, but the problem is the financial ramifications of just letting everyone into the country without job, skill, or money. Those that have jobs, that come over here, that have businesses and whatnot in their other countries that are sending money to themselves here in America. What we're doing is we're taking away a really good asset from that country. So we're impacting that other country's ability to have a stable income, a stable economy, right? I think what we do need to do is, when we're letting people into the United States, what we do need to do is have some type of program that is an educational system that can teach them skills. If they do not have them, get them, certificates like welding, mechanic, anything of that nature, any kind of labor, and then they can apply for jobs that way. Now, will that cost money? Yes, it will. But I guarantee you it'll be better for the economy having a more skilled workforce that's coming into the country than a non-skilled workforce that relies on welfare and EBT. Sure.
And what are your thoughts on like energy in this country?
So I think we need to find a new way. I also think that I really don't like the monopoly that the energy companies have over the citizens. So like right now I have solar, but I still have to be connected to the grid, even if I don't want to be. Like it's illegal for me to disconnect from SDG, which makes zero sense, because I'm self-sufficient. I don't need you. Why are you still attached to me? My solar, the surplus goes into the grid. Okay. But you pay me pennies on the dollar for it. And if I need it from you, I'm paying an exuberant amount. And it's going to a weird system based on how much money you make, which isn't fair. I think utilities should be like gas stations, right? There's a lot of them everywhere. You can make a choice, and whichever one's cheaper is the one you go with. And no matter how many miles your cars get, a gallon of gas costs a gallon of gas. It doesn't matter how much money you make. The cost is the same. So I think utilities should be based on the same way. I think this is a money grab by the utility companies and the states that they're in, especially here in California, to take more money from people that are working hard and making a good income.
And then what are your thoughts on the debt that we're kind of been incurring the past, close to 20 years? We're in the trillions. What are your thoughts on that? Can it be curbed? Can we change it? Do we need to change it, or should we continue down that path?
Well, I think if we stop sending billions of dollars to other countries, especially for wars, or I saw, what was it, 10 million to Pakistan, or Palestine, Pakistan, 10 million to Pakistan for gender studies education. If we're sending millions and billions of dollars to other countries for things that don't matter to us as a country, that will not affect our way of life, we are doing it wrong. All that stuff that they're putting in the budget is trying to push an agenda. And why are we pushing our agenda to other countries on gender studies of all things? So, like I could understand if it was, mechanical engineering or nuclear engineering to better the environment. This is something that is a construct that people are coming up with, and it doesn't really matter, especially who cares if what someone thinks about gender in another country? I don't.
Yeah.
Who cares about a war that is, thousands of miles away that's not going to impact our way of life?
Yeah.
Let's stop sending that money there and let's put it toward this debt instead. It's kind of like, when you're young and you're stupid and you get in credit card debt,
Right.
and they teach you the what do they call it, waterfall method, or another one is the oh my gosh, I can't remember the term right now, landslide.
Is it kind of like where you pay your lowest first and then
Yeah,
kind of work
you
your way
pay,
up?
you pay your lowest off first, and the exact
Yeah.
same amount of money that you had paying that low one, you put on the second lowest, and then
Yeah.
it steamrolls. And then by the time you get to your highest one, you have like an extra couple grand a month going to that high credit card debt. We should do the same thing to our debt. Stop spending money where it doesn't need to be spent and pay down the debt.
Right.
Inflation is horrible, but I guess it's good for debt because it takes less to pay it off.
Right. Yeah. What are your thoughts on? I mean, if you have any thoughts on crypto and how crypto affects the money supply or the? I mean, any thoughts on crypto at all?
I mean, I don't think it affects money supply.
Yeah.
Crypto isn't real.
Yeah.
Right? It's a token that someone made that other people assume it has value when it's not being used for anything but buying and purchasing of that token for people to make money.
Right.
No one is actually using these tokens for any kind of technology to work, right? So, like, I don't need to have a Bitcoin to go and start my car, or to make my car work, or to go anywhere. I can buy Bitcoin and sit there and watch it. And when it goes up, I can sell it. And when it goes down, I can buy it. And that's all caused by supply and demand of people wanting to have the crypto. So what I do think is going to happen, did you hear a while back that Fed Now came out, which is basically a way to send money through the Fed?
I haven't. No.
So it's basically like a Venmo or Zelle through the Fed.
Okay. Yeah.
And it uses crypto technology.
Yeah.
I think the United States is going to get rid of the U.S. dollar.
Okay.
The U.S. dollar and the British pound are the two oldest currencies in the world right now.
Yeah.
Everything else has been dropped and created new currency. I think that's going to happen sooner rather than later, and I think that with Fed Now coming out, it's a precursor to the Fed going crypto. Now, when it does go crypto, like if you watch all the sci-fi movies, anything you want, Star Wars, Star Trek, anything, they always talk about credits, right? Everything costs a certain amount of credits. That's what's going to happen in the United States. We're going to get rid of the dollar. We're going to have some kind of token that we're going to have, and everyone holding on to the old tokens, guess what? When the United States comes out with their own token, they're not going to want you using any other tokens for anything.
Right.
They're probably going to put some kind of limit or get rid of those tokens, just like the Chinese did with Bitcoin. Like you cannot mine Bitcoin in China. You could have bought all those Bitcoin miners they had over there for pennies on the dollar a couple of years ago. So I think the same thing is eventually going to happen here in the United States, and all the crypto will go away, and you will at that point lose your butt because you're going to have to get rid of it, and everyone's selling and no one's buying. So everything that you have, and it's going to be gone, and all that's going to be left is the U.S. cryptocurrency, whatever it is that they're going to call it.
Yeah. And then in terms of healthcare, how do you feel? Any stance on healthcare? Do you like the way it is now? Do you prefer a single payer system? I mean, what are your thoughts on healthcare?
So right now, I am with government healthcare because of my retired status in the military, and it's not the greatest. For instance, my spouse, she's also a veteran, but she's not retired. She's just, VA disabled, and it's like 6 months for her to get a certain type of appointment. I think there needs to be a major reform in how long it takes government healthcare to handle any kind of illnesses or issues. But I do like the way that our system is set up now that, you can choose who you want as far as healthcare. I do not agree that you are required to have healthcare. If you're financially fine and you can pay out of pocket, I think you should be able to. I don't think you should be forced into any type of healthcare. Healthcare isn't a right; it's a privilege. You have to earn it, and if you haven't earned it, then just like I said earlier with people coming here illegally, they don't have the healthcare, and guess what? Taxpayers have to foot the bill. So,
Right.
it's not something that is easily solvable. It's going to take a lot of work, and I think that the system that Obama introduced years ago, I didn't like it and never have.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go back to what we had before that, and I mean, we'll see what happens, but it definitely needs reform, and we need to figure out a way to get people, medical care at a better price at a faster time.
Sure. What are your now? Is this your first time running for political office?
Yeah, I never even thought I was going to do this.
Yeah.
So real quick, I didn't know I was doing this until the first week of December.
Oh, wow.
So I had literally 6-7 days to
Yeah.
get all my paperwork in and get on the ballot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
I had no clue that this was going to happen this year. I
Yeah.
was not thinking about this.
Yeah.
But like I said, when push came to shove for my kids, and then hearing stories of other parents that are going through things that are not beneficial for their children, I figured the only way to help change policy is to get on the inside and have a little bit of power and to push that.
That's all. Yeah. I there's a lot of people who talk about politics. People talk politics all day, but very few people will actually put their name on the ballot and, take that, put themselves out there, and because it opens you up, to criticism, to, a lot of different people, a lot of different situations, good and bad. Obviously in that journey, you're going to meet some really, good people, interesting people. What kind of conversation did you have in your mind before you decided to go, hey, I'm going to do this thing? I mean, what was that? And then, was it something that you had to, kind of talk with your family or your spouse and say, hey, this is what I want to do? Walk me through that a little bit so I can kind of understand how that worked for you.
Oh man. So there really wasn't much of a conversation. It was hearing from official agencies that they had proof, but they weren't going to do anything to help my kids.
Okay.
That it just wasn't in their scope of work to do something about it.
Yeah.
They said that they worked in a very narrow scope and they had to stay within that scope. And I said, okay, so who do I talk to about the scope? Yeah. And they were just like, I don't know. It's just our policy. Well, politicians make policy.
Right. Yeah.
So the only way that I will be able to affect and save my children and all the children out there, is by changing the policy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And one of the things that's, as you mentioned earlier, San Diego is a border town. Yeah. One of the biggest things that we have right here is sex trafficking. Mm-hmm. The only way we're going to be able to stop that is by making changes in policy. With our open border policy, with how crazy it is down there right now, people are just coming across. Right. And so my ex-wife, her dad works for Border Patrol. And he doesn't work for Border Patrol, but he works with them. He's a different entity. And they were getting busloads of Chinese girls aged 13 to 16.
Wow.
And it's not, what are they coming here for by themselves?
Right.
And then talking to them and finding everything out about them, they're finding out they were sex trafficked. Yeah. And they're coming in here to San Diego. Yeah. So, people get very offended when you say shut the border down, lock it down. Well, if I can save one little girl or one little boy from being sex trafficked by locking that border down, I'm all for it. Yeah. Everybody else that wants to come here, we can find a way to get you here and make it the right way. We can help you get work because there's plenty of jobs that are available. We just got to get you the skills to get them. Right. But what we need to do more than drugs is save the kids. Yeah. That's the biggest thing for me, is saving the children. I'm trying to start working with a project foundation, which is based here in San Diego. What they do is they rehabilitate sex trafficked victims and get them back into society. What I would like to do is create an agency to back private entities like this. Right now, our police are overworked, federal agents are overworked. We don't have a bunch of door kickers or SWAT teams to go in and kick down doors of, sex traffickers. We don't have a specific group for that.
Right.
I think we need something like that. And we can pull from all the agencies volunteers for that, and even civilians, and send them through training like an academy for it. But one of my second biggest thing besides protecting the kids is, well, I guess it's part of protecting the kids because a lot of them are kids.
Right.
Is stopping the sex trafficking. 100%.
Nice. And finishing up here, what if I was going to leave us with a message for why people in the 52nd district should vote for you? What makes you stand out and compared to the other people running right now? Why you?
Because I'm one of you. I'm a regular guy. I have a family, a job. I grew up with a rough past. I did 20 years in the military, so I've seen my friends die. I don't want to see that for your children, going off to a war that isn't part of what we believe in here in the United States. I feel like I'm the change California needs. And because I'm from the people, I am one of the people, and I'm just a regular guy, not a career politician, I think I can make a real difference and stand up for the voices that are just like mine, that have issues in their day-to-day lives that our government isn't resolving. And that's why I'm running.
Awesome. And how can people reach out to you? Is there a way that, as of right now, I know you just started your campaign, but is there a way that people can reach out and find you, either social media or website, anything like that right now?
I will get you all those links in the next 24 hours because we're getting all that set up right now. So hopefully I can get it to you before you post this video.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so everybody who's listening, it will be in the notes. And Justin, really appreciate you coming on my podcast here. Thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck, and good luck with everything you do.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you.
All right. Well, you have a blessed day.
You too.
All right.
All right, man.